What if the name of God held secrets that could change how we see the divine? Imagine being in the shoes of Moses, standing before a burning bush that burns without being consumed. The flames are intense, yet there's a voice, calm, commanding, and divine, calling out your name. In this surreal moment, you're given a mission to lead a people out of bondage. But Moses, in his humanity, asks a question that many of us might ask. What should I say when they ask me who sent me? God's response is one of the most profound statements ever recorded. I am who I am. This name, represented by the 4 Hebrew letters Yahweh, is more than just a label. It's a declaration of existence, a statement of being that transcends time and space. But what does it really mean? Why was it so sacred that the ancient Israelites wouldn't even speak it aloud? And what can it reveal to us about the nature of God? This video will explore the mystery and significance of God's true name as revealed in the Hebrew text, and how understanding it can deepen one's spiritual connection. Let's begin by understanding the linguistic and cultural significance of Yahweh. In the ancient Hebrew language, the name of God was written as 4 consonants. Yod, He, Vav, He, Yahweh. This name, known as the Tetragrammaton, was considered so holy that it was only spoken by the high priest on the Day of Atonement. For the everyday believer, it was too sacred to utter, and so they used substitutes like Adonai or Elohim when referring to God. These names, Yahweh, Adonai, Elohim, each reveal different aspects of God's nature. Elohim, used in the very first verse of Genesis, emphasizes God's power as the creator of the universe. Adonai, meaning Lord, highlights God's authority and dominion over all creation. Yahweh, on the other hand, is deeply personal, reflecting God's covenant relationship with his people. The sacredness of these names in Jewish tradition is profound, reflecting the deep reverence with which God is to be approached. But why was this name so revered? The answer lies partly in its meaning and partly in the mystery of its pronunciation. The name Yahweh is closely related to the Hebrew verb haya, which means to be or to exist. When God says, I am who I am, he is declaring his eternal, self-sustaining existence. He is the uncaused cause, the one who exists by his own power and will. Over time, Jewish scholars added vowel markings to Yahweh to make it easier to pronounce. This resulted in forms like Yahweh and later Jehovah. However, these are approximations. The exact original pronunciation has been lost to history, adding to the name's mystique. The significance of Yahweh goes beyond just its literal meaning. In mystical traditions, such as Kabbalah, God's name is seen as a blueprint for the universe. Each letter of Yahweh is believed to symbolize different dimensions of existence, reflecting the complexity and depth of the divine nature. According to these interpretations, Yahweh represents not just the name of God, but the fundamental structure of reality itself. Kabbalistic teachings suggest that by meditating on the name Yahweh, one can gain insight into the hidden aspects of the universe and the nature of God. This mystical approach to God's name reveals its power not just as a word, but as a symbol of the divine essence that permeates all creation. It is a name that connects the physical and spiritual realms, offering a glimpse into the eternal and unchanging nature of God. Understanding the name Yahweh gives us a glimpse into the very nature of God. I am who I am can be understood as, I will be what I will be, suggesting not only God's eternal existence but also his active presence in the world. He is not a distant deity who created the world and then left it to its own devices. He is actively involved in the unfolding of history. This declaration of God's existence and involvement stands in stark contrast to the beliefs of surrounding nations who worshipped a pantheon of gods, each with limited power and authority. By revealing his name as Yahweh, God was making a bold statement. He alone is the true God, the source of all being, and the one who holds ultimate authority over the universe. This revelation also had a direct impact on the Israelites' understanding of monotheism. In a world where every nation had its own gods, the Israelites were called to worship Yahweh alone. In Exodus 23, God commands, "You shall have no other gods before me." This was not just a religious decree, it was a call to loyalty and exclusivity. By rejecting the gods of other nations, the Israelites were affirming their unique relationship with the one true God. The name Yahweh is not just sacred, it is powerful. In ancient times, knowing and using a god's name was believed to grant power over that deity. However, with Yahweh, the opposite is true. His name is a reminder of his power and sovereignty, and it demands reverence. The Jewish tradition of not speaking the name aloud was not just out of respect, but also an acknowledgement of the immense power contained within it. This reverence extends to all aspects of life, including prayer, worship, and even battle. The name of God was invoked in moments of need and desperation, believed to carry the power to change circumstances and bring divine intervention. In the Psalms, for example, the name of Yahweh is a source of strength and refuge. In battles, it was a rallying cry, a declaration that God himself was fighting on behalf of his people. Today, while we may not have the same practices of reverence, the power of God's name remains. It influences how we approach God in prayer, how we worship, and how we live our lives. The careful and respectful use of God's name is a reminder of the relationship we have with the divine, a relationship that is built on both love and awe. But Yahweh is not just a name that emphasizes God's power and authority, it also reveals his desire for a personal relationship with his people. Throughout the Bible, God refers to himself as Yahweh in contexts that highlight his care, love, and involvement in the lives of individuals. The prophet Isaiah captures this beautifully when he writes, "I am Yahweh, and there is no other." In these words, we see not just a declaration of God's uniqueness, but also a personal commitment to his people. God is not an abstract concept or a distant ruler. He is a personal being who knows us, forms us, and desires to be in relationship with us. This personal aspect of Yahweh is further emphasized in the way God interacts with individuals in the Bible. From Moses to the prophets, and ultimately through Jesus Christ, God reveals himself as a being who cares deeply about his creation. He is not content to remain aloof or detached. He enters into the human experience, guiding, comforting, and redeeming. The name Yahweh also served as a powerful tool in God's campaign against idolatry. In a world filled with idols and false gods, the revelation of God's name was a clear statement that he alone was to be worshipped. The surrounding nations worshipped gods made of wood and stone, gods who were limited by their physical forms and bound by the laws of nature. But Yahweh transcended all of this. He was not bound by any form or substance. He was pure spirit, existing beyond the confines of the physical world. This understanding of God's transcendence was a radical departure from the religious practices of the time. It challenged the Israelites to see beyond the tangible and to recognize the invisible, eternal God who created all things. It also called them to reject the idolatry that was so prevalent in their culture and to devote themselves fully to Yahweh. So what does all of this mean for us today? Understanding the significance of God's name can deepen our own faith and relationship with him. It reminds us that God is not just a distant figure or an abstract concept. He is a living, active being who desires to be in relationship with us. In a world that is often filled with distractions and competing loyalties, the name Yahweh calls us back to the foundation of our faith. It challenges us to reject the idols of our own time, whether they be material possessions, status, or even our own ambitions, and to focus on the one true God who is the source of all life. By meditating on the meaning of Yahweh, we can gain a deeper appreciation for God's nature and character. It encourages us to reflect on His eternal presence, His self-sufficiency, and His intimate involvement in our lives. This understanding can transform our worship, making it more heartfelt and sincere. As we recognize the profound truth that the God who created the universe is the same God who desires to know us personally. One of the most powerful aspects of understanding God's name is how it transforms our perception of Him. When we grasp the meaning of "I am who I am," we begin to see God not just as a distant deity, but as a being who is fully present in every moment of our lives. This realization can bring comfort in times of uncertainty, knowing that the God who exists outside of time and space is also with us in the here and now. Furthermore, the name Yahweh challenges us to think about our own identity in relation to God. If God is the self-existent one, then our existence is entirely dependent on Him. This can be a humbling thought, but it is also liberating. It reminds us that we are not the center of the universe, God is. Our value and purpose are found in our relationship with Him, not in our achievements or possessions. This understanding can also transform how we relate to others. Knowing that every person is created in the image of Yahweh can inspire us to treat others with respect, dignity, and love. It calls us to see the divine in the mundane, to recognize the sacredness of all life, and to act with compassion and justice. The story behind God's name is one that has been unfolding for thousands of years, and it continues to speak to us today. It is a story of mystery, majesty, and meaning, a story that invites us to explore the depths of who God is and to discover the richness of a life lived in relationship with Him. As you go forth from this exploration, carry with you the knowledge that you are known and loved by the one who is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. And may the name Yahweh be a source of strength, comfort, and inspiration as you seek to live out your faith in a world that is constantly changing but held in the hands of the unchanging God. Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey. If you found this video enlightening, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more insights into biblical stories and their hidden meanings.